This deck is actually just ridiculous.
Subscribe.
Today I'm going to be showing you my current branded deck list alongside some insane combos that I guarantee you've never seen when it comes to this deck. With a 90% chance of opening branded fusion and multiple ways to make sure it goes through, this deck is just nuts. If you're just visiting the channel from searching for a branded Despia list, hey, welcome. I have a series where I've been developing the deck all the way from 3 structure decks. It's pretty sweet, so give that a peep. If you're already a viewer of the channel, however, after all the blood, sweat, and tears, this list is most likely the list I will be taking to YCS London for the finale of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Properly, and it is correct. So without further ado, let's just get into the deck profile. 42 cards in the main deck. I've tried to make this as concise as possible. Starting off here, we have 3 Keeper of Dragon Magic, which I believe is the best card in the deck and is integral to the entire strategy. This can search fusion deployment, it can search branded fusion, it can search instant fusion, all of which are crazy, and the second effect is very important in this list as well. Next up, we have Instant Fusion, which can be used as a starter, or it can just be used as a defensive card, summoning Millenniumize to protect your branded fusion from hand traps. Next up, we have 3 Aliber, 3 Branded Opening, 3 Branded Fusion, 1 Gold Sarcophagus, and 1 Foolish Burial. So that is 15 starters in the deck, 42 cards in the main, gives us a 90% chance of seeing at least one of these, 90% chance of basically seeing Branded Fusion. When you're siding for going second, obviously taking that 6th card into consideration, you only need 13 starters in the deck for a 90% chance of seeing Branded Fusion, so you can side out 2 starters, typically the 3rd Branded Opening and Gold Sarcophagus or Foolish Burial. Also, every card here can just do multiple different things, so seeing multiple starters is actually a good thing because they build upon each other and strengthen your board. Moving on, we have 2 Fallen of Albaz, which is the bare minimum. You can play 3, but you would have to rearrange the deck count, I guess. But like I said, I was trying to keep this as concise as possible. Then we also have 3 Fusion Deployment and 1 Cartesia. A lot of people are on 2. Like I said, trying to keep this as concise as possible. And then the rest of the non-surprising stuff here, we have 1 Albion the Shrouded Dragon, 1 Tri-Brigade Mercurier, 1 Despian Tragedy, and 1 Ad Libitum of Despia. Ad Lib is crazy with Branded in red, specifically because of Dragoon being able to send it from the deck. If you're playing the Patchwork engine, I would probably play Dramaturge over Ad Lib, but we're past the Patchwork engine now, dude. And then we're also on 1 copy of Bestial Lubellion for our main Branded Fusion dump. Now for the more surprising stuff, if you haven't been following the channel, we have 1 copy of Predaplant Bufolicula and 1 copy of Predaplant Darlington Cobra. The frog is essentially a polymerization in the scale for dark fusion monsters, and Cobra, of course, when summoned, searches any fusion spell. That could be super poly, that can be branded fusion, or it could also be fusion deployment. You'll see these in action in the combos after we finish the deck profile, but we also have a copy of Dark Magician in here because this deck is insane with Dragoon. Back to the standard stuff for the branded spells and traps, we have 1 copy of Branded in Red, 1 copy of Branded Lost, and a copy of Branded Banishment. A lot of people are cutting Banishment. I think you have to play it. Not only is it an important combo piece in this list, but it also just allows you to play through Nibiru better, it allows you to play through Lava Golem and Sphere Mode because you can just bring back Dragoon or Mirror Jade from the graveyard, and of course it's also just insane in the mirror match. But speaking of playing through interruptions, we are of course on 1 copy of Called by the Grave, and we are main decking the 3 Crossout Designator alongside 3 Ash, 2 Nibiru, and 1 Infinite Impermanence as our targets. So between Crossout Designator, Keeper of Dragon Magic being able to summon Dragoon or search Instant Fusion for Millenniumize, and Call by the Grave, we have multiple ways to play through interruptions in this deck, meaning Ash on Branded Fusion is not an FTK. I mean, in some hands, in some terrible hands it will be, but yeah, we can play through it so much easier. So that is the 42 card main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. Playing around Kashtira makes things super tight, but we just have enough room. We have 1 Predaplant Ambulance and 1 Millenniumize Restrict as our instant fusion targets. Both of these are absolutely mandatory. Ambulance as a massive playmaker for the deck, and Millenniumize as a very nice defensive card. Remember, if Branded Opening is engraved, you can protect it during the end phase, so you have an additional interruption on your opponent's turn. Next up, we have a whole bunch of 2-ofs, so of course the usual, we have 2 Albion the Branded Dragon, 2 Lubellion the Siren Dragon, we have to play 2 unfortunately because of Kashtira. We have 2 Mirror Jade. Not much really needs to be said there, but we're also forced to play 2 Dragoon. This of course makes playing into the Kashtira board so much easier, and with this list specifically, you know, with this polymerization and scale and Keeper being able to revive Dark Magician, you can easily make the 2nd Dragoon, so it really comes up in the grind game. Hell, you can even make 2 Dragoons in 1 turn. We're also on 2 copies of Predaplant Dragos Despia, and we have to play 2 in this list to maximize the value of our combos with Branded Banishment. I will show you that in a second, of course, but we also have the Dragoon Dragon and Despian Queritus as our target to summon off of its effect. I did originally like Priskinian, but when it comes to your engine getting stopped and you only being able to play through Cartesia, it's nice to be able to summon Queritus, which can then get you to your engine by summoning Alibur or Albaz. And then finally, we have the big boy himself, Guardian Chimera, basically a Branded Despia card, but yeah, this with Branded in red is insane still. However, we also have the Predaplant Scale, remember, which is just a polymerization once per turn. So our engine does allow us to get into the Guardian Chimera without having to rely on Branded in red. And that is the extra deck. Like I said, extremely tight, but I think we've still managed to be able to incorporate everything we need. Now, the side deck is the most difficult thing when it comes to this deck. I'm not 100% on all of my choices, but here we have 1 Gimmick Puppet Nightmare and 1 Branded Expulsion, of course, for going first. Keeper of Dragon Magic is a 1-card Expulsion lock with Dragos Despia on top of that. It's basically just a free win going first, so why not? We also have 1 copy of D-Barrier, which you can just side in going first because it's really good, but also as a cross-out target, D-Barrier does really hurt our deck. We have our 3rd copy of Nibiru in the side deck and a Garura alongside 2 Super Poly. Now keep in mind, Super Poly is searchable through the Predaplant engine. Draw phase player turn priority. This is one of the only ways to out the mirror match sort of Gimmick Puppet lock. If you can remove the fusions off the board before they activate Expulsion, then they can't lock you. And I don't really want to play Super Poly without Garura, so I don't know, space is so tight, man. 3 copies of Evenly Matched, I think, is in everyone's side deck. The card is so good. I am playing 2 Radian, the Dark Kaiju. I think it's just a great 1-for-1 removal that also synergizes with Evenly. Like, if you contribute over an Omni Negate like Baron or Dragoon or something, and then just Evenly your opponent, then you're in a good spot. And then I realized that we have absolutely nothing to deal with Ibli. Not that many people are even playing Ibli as much anymore, but not being able to do anything about it had me a little worried, so I filled the last 3 slots with 3 Enemy Controller, which is also just a very nice card. And that rounds up the side deck, which is honestly the hardest part of this deck to build. Like, I really want to play Cosmic Cyclones, there's no space for them. Now, if you hit the like button, maybe we can do some test hands. But here's the combos. Alright, starting pretty basic here with just the Keeper of Dragon Magic plus any discard. A 1-card combo, essentially, which is really nice having a 1-card line, because Branded Despia is generally like 2-card combos, and, you know, it's a little bit awkward sometimes. So having this strong line with just 1 card is really nice to have. Normal summoning the Keeper of Dragon Magic, activating the effect, we're going to discard a Ash to search a normal fusion spell, Instant Fusion. Activate Instant Fusion, pay 1,000, summon our Predaplant Ambulance from the extra deck. And Ambulance is going to search on summon for a Predaplant Abufolicula. Polymerization, essentially, is all it is in scale, so it's like a poly every turn, essentially. Also good for getting our Chimera. So we're now going to trigger Ambulance's 2nd effect, targeting the Keeper of Dragon Magic here to tribute it and special a Predaplant monster from the deck. So we are going to special summon out our Predaplant Cobra to search any fusion spell in the deck. Could be Fusion Deployment, Super Poly, Branded Fusion, you know. But we are going to search for Branded Fusion here. And with the Branded Fusion, we go into Albion, and we want to use this for Mirror Jade. So we want to get it off the field ideally. So what we're going to do here is activate the Scale Bufolicula, activate the Scale effect, Polymerization. Using both monsters on the field, we're going to summon out a Dragos Despia. And now, from here, we are free to activate Branded Fusion. I mean, if it gets ashed in this situation, at least we still have a Dragos Despia plus, Ash, Nibiru, nice. So, Branded Fusion, dumping Albaz and the Lubellion, of course. Summoning out Albion. And then we're going to activate Albion to fuse using the graveyard, banishing Albaz, plus the Fusion monster to summon out Mirror Jade, of course. Now here, Lubellion is going to summon itself by tributing the Albion, and then activating its effect on field. We can place ourselves a Branded Lost before proceeding to the end phase, where we will trigger the Albion and set a Branded Banishment. Branded in red isn't live specifically because we have no Despia monsters in the graveyard, or Albaz as well, so we are locked into Banishment, summoning back the Albion. And I'll show you that in a second here. However, if we get like Lava Golemed or Super Polyed or anything, you can just use Banishment to like bring back Mirror Jade. But just as a show-off example, on our opponent's turn, we're going to negate something with Dragos Despia, and then we're going to activate Banishment, bring back the Albion, and we can banish the Dragos Despia with the Albion to summon out a 2nd copy of Dragos Despia. And that's why we have to play the 2nd copy in the deck, and that will trigger Branded Lost, getting us a search for the Tri-Brigade Mercurier. So overall, that's essentially 4 interruptions off of just the Keeper. Pretty strong board for 1 card especially. Combo number 2, once again with just the Keeper of Dragon Magic. Yes, I hope you're realizing this card is absolutely broken. We are now going to use 1 card to Expulsion lock our opponent with Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. So kind of the same as before. Normal Summoning Keeper, activate effect, discard a card, search for Instant Fusion, activate Instant Fusion, summons out the Ambulance. Ambulance is going to search for the Polymerization Scale. Second effect of Ambulance, tribute in the Keeper to special summon Cobra. Cobra, once again, adding the Branded Fusion here, and we're not going to make Dragos Despia here this time because we're not going to be going into the Mirror Jade, and we need to get Albion off the field without sending Lubellion. So we activate the Branded Fusion here, sending the Albaz and the Cartesia to the grave to summon the Albion. Then Albion's going to trigger banishing Cartesia and a Dark Monster, so just to keep her from before. That's going to summon out Grand Google Dragon. Effect on summon to, of course, dump the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, and then we can activate the Scale and the Polymerization effect, fusing these two, getting Albion off the field for a Dragos Despia. An end phase Albion will trigger, setting Branded Expulsion to the field. So we pass to our opponent's draw phase, Expulsion, tribute the Granny Google. You can target the Keeper here, or the Cartesia, it really depends. Keeper, of course, on special summon also gets you a search for a normal fusion spell, so, you know, it's good follow-up. But that is going to get them puppet locked, and just a free win, really. Just a free win. It's that simple. Of course, if they do have some kind of normal summon, you can just negate that with Dragos Despia. And if Expulsion does happen to get stopped, you have the Granny Google and Dragon as well to summon out the Queritus. Alright, this next combo has 2 different variants, and they both sort of achieve the same thing, which is Dragoon being summoned before we activate Branded Fusion, so Branded Fusion is protected. The first variant, this one, is going to be Dragoon summoned in 5 summons, so we also have that Nibiru protection. The second one is going to be the same sort of result, but slightly more summons. The second variant involves Fusion Deployment, this one involves Branded Fusion, plus Keeper of Dragon Magic, and of course a discard as well. So getting into the combo, as always, same as before, Keeper Dragon Magic, normal summon, discard for the effect to search for Instant Fusion. Activating Instant Fusion, we are once again going to be summoning the Ambulance, and Ambulance will be searching our Frog, the Polymerization Scale. And then this time we activate the second effect of Ambulance, targeting itself, because we need the Dragon Effect monster on the field here. So we tribute the Ambulance to summon out the Cobra, and Cobra is going to search for Fusion Deployment, because we already have Branded Fusion, and Fusion Deployment is a fusion card, which is so cool. It makes this deck so good. So activating Fusion Deployment, of course, revealing our Dragoon, summons out Dark Magician as summon number 4, and then we can activate the Scale effect, fusing the Dark Magician with the Dragon Effect monster, summons out the Dragoon. From here, Branded Fusion, of course, goes through, dumping Albaz and Lubellion, summoning out Albion. Albion effect is going to trigger Albaz and the Ambulance engrave to summon out Mirror Jade. And then Lubellion is once again going to tribute the Albion to special summon itself, and effect to place Lost on the board. Yeah, this ignore the zones. End phase Albion, of course, setting the Branded Banishment there as well. And on our opponent's turn, we can just activate the Banishment if we don't need it to revive anything. Target the Albion, and then fuse the Albion with the Cobra to make a Dragos Despia, and get a search off of Lost as well, of course. Tri-Brigade Mercurier. So many interruptions, dude, with the Dragoon before Branded Fusion. Nobody... It's the best card, bro. It's the best card. Keeper of Dragon Magic. It's so insane. Alright, second variation of that same combo line. This one is slightly more powerful because it adds an additional interruption to your board, but it does require a few extra summons before we summon out the Dragoon. So this time, we are going to start with Fusion Deployment, revealing the Granny Google Dragon to summon out Cartesia, and then we can normal summon Keeper and activate effect. This way we're protected from Imperm as well, so we can sort of diversify our lines if we do get interrupted here, but we always have Millenniumize for backup. So Keeper of Dragon Magic, of course, searching for the Instant Fusion. Activating Instant Fusion, we're once again going to summon our Ambulance. Ambulance searching for the Polymerization, and second effect, once again targeting itself to summon out the Cobra here. Cobra effect activating to add the Branded Fusion, and then here we're going to activate Cartesia to fuse with the Cobra. And that's going to summon out the Granny Google Dragon. Effect on summon dumps Dark Magician to the graveyard. And we use Keeper's second effect, which is kind of similar to Fusion Deployment. You reveal a fusion monster and then revive one of its materials in face down defense position. So we reveal the Dragoon and summon a Dark Magician back in face down defense. Of course, scaling the frog and activating the effect to fuse for the Dragoon. And now we are free to, once again, go Branded Fusion, Albaz and Rebellion. Summons Albion effect, banishing Albaz. We could summon a second Dragoon here, which is funny. The second Dragoon actually comes up quite a lot in this build, because Keeper can always just revive Dark Magician from the graveyard, and the scale is, I mean, it's a scale. It's always there. You always have the fuse effect. But anyway, summoning out the Mirror Jades, we can then once again tribute the Albion for Rebellion. Rebellion placing Branded Lost, and Albion setting Branded Banishment. Cartesia also comes back to hand, which is a really nice resource loop with the Dragoon, because that way you always have a discard for the effect continuously, which is really, really nice. But of course, at some point we can activate the Banishment, bring out a Dragos Despia, and get the Mercurier once again to hand through Branded Lost. Honestly, I could talk about this deck for hours. I literally had like 10 to 15 combos all involving like Keeper of Dragon magic just to show in the video, but it's getting a bit long, so we'll probably end it there. Do let me know what you think of the deck. Hopefully I can get the side deck optimized in time for YCS London, but yeah, thanks for watching. I better be seeing more Predaplant ambulances being summoned out there. See you next time.